everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Open Letters to a Survivor. I'm Lady Poet Speaks, and I'm here with my amazing co host, K Love.
Hello, hey everybody.
And so, before we get started today, we are putting in a trigger warning for this episode. If you or someone you know is dealing with self injury or suicidal thoughts, please call or text 988. You can stay anonymous. This week's letter is going to be was written and will be read by my amazing co-host K Love.
I'm just so amazing. That's
You
amazing.
are, of course.
All right, so dear survivor, do you ever feel like you can't go on? Like, no matter what you do, you're still failing? Well, stop. Stop, stop, stop. Take a deep breath. The one thing about surviving trauma is learning how to see every step, no matter how big or how small, every moment is part of the progress, and you are making progress. You must trust the process of healing and have faith in God and have faith in yourself, knowing that you didn't survive for nothing. You survived because your life has purpose. You are worthy of every step of success. So look back only to see how far you have come. You have come successfully in healing through making it through every little struggle. And that's our note to the letter to the survivor today. Every struggle is healing.
Thank you, and that's actually really good way to end it. So today we will be talking about, as you haven't already guessed, self injury and self harm in our communities. And so before we get started with my story, I want to read some statistics for you. Statistics show from AGC.com in 2018, self harm and self injury affects nearly 1 in 4 teenage girls in the US. I was one of those statistics. The study also shows 64,671 public high school students ages 14 through 18 in large urban areas. These students reported self injury, which is purposely harming oneself. The study also showed that this isn't a mental illness, but a behavior that indicates a lack of coping skills associated with illnesses such as borderline personality disorder, depression, eating disorders, anxiety, and PTSD. So these statistics to me are alarming. So today I will be sharing my story of not only how I went through it, but also how I overcome it. So I was one of 4 girls who was dealing with PTSD and severe anxiety due to experiences I've had with sexual assault, bullying, and made to feel like an outcast even in my own family. Most of all, not realizing that God had a purpose for me and I felt so unworthy. And in that unworthiness is where the self injury began. So I just want to speak to anybody who's actually going through that. It started for me when I was 12 years old, and it continued into adulthood until I was told a story one day that changed my life. We'll get to that story later. But I know K Love had a few questions to ask.
So, when you say self injury, and can you expound upon what that is and what that means?
So self injury is, like I said, purposely hurting oneself, to feel pain. So I know with my experience, it was the cutting, and some people intentionally burn themselves. They pull their hair out. Anything that would bring harm to them is what they did. And mine was my anxiety and my PTSD would be so bad. I felt like I could only breathe after the cuts because I would get so wound up and wound up and wound up and not feeling like I had an outlet. You know, you get tired of writing, tired of, what people at that time didn't have any coping skills. And so to do that, that was like the way I felt like I can breathe. I know people do it for a lot of other reasons as well, but this is personally my struggle and
Right.
my story.
Okay. And so when you harm yourself, what does that do for you? Does it give you a moment, even though it's pain that you're inflicting upon yourself, does it give you a moment to run away from the other painful issues? Is that how that works?
So for me, yes, it was. I was being bullied. I had experienced sexual violence. At one point, and I just had. I was bullied in school. I felt like the outcast all the time, and so it felt like I couldn't breathe. So I would get in these circles or in these different places, and I would just get so anxious and feeling like I didn't have a voice and
Mhm.
not being able to breathe. So when I do that, okay, now I can see where this pain is coming from because the pain in my heart is too deep for me to unpack right now. So if I can do this to see a little blood, okay, now I can see this pain. So I know it's existing. And
Mhm.
I can unpack this, but I can't unpack what's going on in my heart at the moment.
Wow. Wow. That's a good way to put it, because you have people who, like you said, do other things to cope, and it's a coping mechanism to
Right.
address whatever issue you're dealing with at the time. And some people would not realize that inflicting pain also takes away pain.
Right.
No one ever really puts the two together, because in the end it's still pain. So um how long was your journey of self-inflicting
Okay, and
harm?
I do want to say, even though inflicting pain took away pain, it still brought the pain right back. It just temporarily took away the pain until you would feel everything all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then here goes the pain all over again. So, my journey actually started when I was about 13 years old, and it continued into early adulthood. Now, it was few and far between when I was in early adulthood, but it still happened when I would get those times where I would feel rage and anger and not knowing where to put it. But by
Mm-hmm.
the grace of God, I'm 8 years free from it. And yes, sometimes I still struggle with urges. It's just like any other addiction that you may face. But now I got coping skills. My prayer life and spiritual life is
Mm-hmm.
tapped together. So I know I don't have to go back and do those things anymore.
How did you come to decide to do cutting versus any other form of harm to yourself?
Honestly, it just happened. One day I was just dealing with the pain and I just did it the one time and I was like, okay, I felt like I can breathe. So that was my go to when
Mm-hmm.
anxiety would be so revved up in me that I felt like I couldn't breathe anymore. And I just stuck with that one. It's like when you get a high and then you keep going to that one high because that's going to get you the highest. That's how
Mm-hmm.
it was for me. I would go to that one coping skill because all of the other coping skills weren't working. And once I stuck with that one and I felt like I got what I needed, then I just kept going to that one.
Did you share those moments with other people? Like, were you with other cutters? Or is that an intimate thing just to yourself?
Well, I'm going to say one of the reasons we started this show is because so many things in our communities get swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make a new flash that little black girls cut themselves too. They're the highest rate. So it got swept under the rug. I didn't really tell anybody. My mother knew, but nobody else really knew until I got mentors who accepted me and friends who loved me. And regardless of that, and who spoke life into me and prayed for me when I didn't have a spiritual life to pray for myself because I felt so unworthy. As I
Mm-hmm.
said, and if I'm unworthy, how could I be worthy enough to stop doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so once I had to put in myself and change the mindset that yes, you are worthy and yes, you do belong, then that's when I made that decision to break free. And even though it take a little time, and even though you may relapse, and even though you may have those problems and pain, you eventually get it right. It's like a baby, when a baby learn how to walk and then they walk a little and fall. And
Right.
I was walking a little bit and I would fall and I would sit there, walk a little bit, fall, sit there, cry. But every time I got back up, I kept walking and I stopped losing my balance.
That's right. That's that struggle.
That's that
That's
struggle.
that struggle in the healing process.
But then when you
And
look back on it, you like, look where I overcame and look where I am
right,
now.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
now it's like I got a sixth sense about these things. So when people are going through that, I can actually tell
Mm-hmm.
just by the signs that you exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the girls I mentor, I know what you're going through because I can see it. You don't have to tell me. Let me pull you to the side and let's have these conversations. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get you the same help that I had to get.
Right.
So,
Yeah, because you mentioned it, the stigma of
right,
self-harm is not our community. It's
right,
the other communities. And it's
right,
so far from the truth. Because when you read the statistics, yeah, it's what one out of every four just
right,
in our community.
right,
And so I never knew that. And I have to say, so very happy and proud of you that you got through that and you've moved on with your life and you continue to walk in that healing place day after day after day and dealing with stress because life is full of different stressors.
right,
And there's different triggers, like you said at the beginning of the show, that can make you want to come back to doing what you used to do to cope with
right,
those different triggers. And I get that, and I applaud you for even bringing that up because a lot of people in our community don't want to face the fact that we have similar issues just like any other community, and we do
right,
a lot of the same things that other communities do. It's just we don't talk about it. We
right,
shun it. We cover it, or sweep it under the rug, or turn our back away from it so we can't really deal with it and be in denial. And so, how did you get to a point where you wanted to break out and get
so
away from those type of ways of coping?
So eventually, first I want to say that in our communities, yes, it gets swept under the rug. And yes, people say, oh, you're selfish or this or that, or they don't understand it. Please stop judging what you don't understand because you speaking life into somebody can save their life.
Yeah.
But you keep covering it under the rug or calling them selfish or saying it's stupid that they're doing that can actually take their life. So
Mhm.
I just want to put that disclaimer out there for people. If you experience, and at the end I'm gonna tell you what to look for in your child, and if they're experiencing these things, please seek to get them help. We do a let's go to therapy segment every week. Please get them the help that they need because I did.
Yeah.
What actually got me to believe in, so by this time I was grown and it was few and far between, not like it was when I was a teenager, but I would still have those moments. And I still had those moments of feeling unworthy.
Mhm.
And I hope he's tuned in today. But Calvin was actually a supervisor of mine that actually spoke life into me. And he told me a story. It's the parable of the cracked pot. I don't know who wrote it, but for my viewers out there, I'm going to read it to you. And this is what got me to change and what got me feeling worthy. And I'm going to elaborate on it a little more when I'm done. So here
Okay.
goes the story of the cracked pot. There once lived a water carrier. Every morning, as soon as the sun rose, she walked from her home to collect water in two earthen pots. Earthen, that means used, not the best. So they're used pots that hung from a long pole that she carried across her shoulders. One pot was perfectly formed. The other, although the same shape, the same size, and the same counterpart, it had a crack in the side. So whenever they returned to the water carrier's house, it was only ever half full. For years, the water carrier repeated her journey. to and from her house collecting water from the river. As years passed by, the cracked pot created a story in its head about the level of worthiness and inability to properly perform the job which it had been created for. Eventually, the pain and the shame that it felt about its own perceived imperfections became much more for it to bear. So one day, the water carrier knelt beside the river and began its usual task, filling the pots with water. The cracked pot found its voice and said, I am so sorry. For years and years, I have watched you fill me with water, and I can only imagine the fruitlessness task it must be for you. As whenever I return to home, I am only half full, while in comparison, the other pot is perfect. Rarely does it lose a drop of water, or as long as it takes to walk back home. I am far from perfect, the crack in my side, I'm sorry. Not only does it cause me much hurt and shame, but it also causes you to want to get rid of me. Surely I am difficult. I understand if you're thinking of getting rid of me and replacing me with another perfectly formed pot. The water carrier listened to these words with both care and compassion. The crackpot's story of unworthiness and shame was not one that she recognized. For this was not what she thought of the pot. She knew about the crack, but did not see it as an imperfection or as something that made it less worthy than the other pots that hung from her shoulder. Gently, she turned to the pot and said, on our return walk home, I want you to look up and to the side of you. For too long, it would seem you have been looking down, comparing yourself to the others, and noticing how you and the crack that you have in your side has brought untold beauty into my life. Puzzled, the crackpot wondered what on earth her words meant. She seemed to be suggesting that its story of lack, unworthiness, and shame was in some way faulty. As to how this could be, it could not comprehend. However, the crackpot trusted the water carrier. It occurred to it that all the time that it had been journeying with her, she had never said a harsh word, never scorned or ridiculed it, but had always shown a sense of gratefulness and was filling it with water. So on the return journey, it heeded the water carrier's words. It looked up and it looked out. It was in its former depressed state. It had not noticed along the path that the travel there was dazing array of beauty, color, and life. Their seeds along the path. The seeds were duly watered every day as a result of the crack in the pot side, and the path that had once been barren and devoid of life was now replenished with an array of beauty and wildflowers. Now the crackpot understood not that the pot not that the cracked pot began to see itself in a new light. Now it understood that indeed it had been telling itself a faulty story. If its experience of being a cracked pot was going to change, then it would have to have changed the story that it was telling itself.
Hmm.
So, um, in doing that, he told me that story one day. We were talking, and I was down, and I was just telling him I felt unworthy of healing. And thank you, Kayla. I've just read your comment. Thank you for it. But he told me that story, and in that story, I had to change my mindset. That I too was the crack pot, but in the work I was doing and giving back and speaking to people and helping and just being there at that time with patience and speaking to families and giving my heart even when I didn't see the worthiness of it, that's really what caused me to realize the beauty and to actually help and aid in my journey to getting free and being free. So,
Mhm.
Calvin, if you're watching, I will forever be grateful for the story of that cracked pot. Because had you not told me that, I would still be in the same situation, still living same sad, down, and depressed, and telling myself this faulty story
Mhm.
over and over and over again.
Yeah,
So that.
that's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Something so simple, we don't realize our true purpose until someone like Mr. Calvin just speaks that life into you and says, this this is this this is happening for a reason, and you're going to get past this, and you're going to go above and beyond this because you have purpose, and your purpose is like what we're doing today and then some, you know.
Right.
So kudos to Mr. Calvin, and kudos to you for listening and
Thank you.
adhering to what he was trying to share with you, you know, because some people don't receive when someone's trying to speak into their life, and you listened because you were ready, and it was
Thank
time for you to pick it up, wipe off that dust, and keep it moving, and take your experiences that were lemons and turning them into lemonade.
you. Right.
um, yeah, so moving forward now, what would you tell someone who has done harm to themselves to cope with things? What would you encourage them to do to get to a place of healing and finding other ways to deal with their issues?
So first, I want to say that you have to heal the roots for the tree to be stable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't heal those roots, that tree is constantly going to sway. That tree is eventually going to fall and break. But if you can get your roots healed, then and keep watering those roots. Sometimes the roots get dry. Sometimes you feel empty, but you got to have people to pour into those roots.
Right.
Even to this day, I still have a support system when the urges hit me, when the anxiety hits me. I work at a really good job now where they don't really know about my past, but they know about my anxiety. And I have a supervisor now who be on it. Whenever I tell her, look, I'm just having a moment, take a minute and come back. And just to have those people who can read between the lines where you don't have to explain everything but still be there
Right.
is amazing. To get you a good group of friends who go to God on your behalf when you can't do it,
Mm-hmm.
and get you a good therapy in a good place. Some of the coping skills I use, and like I said again, I'm not a therapist. That's why we do the Let's Go to Therapy. But I'm just telling some of the coping skills that help me. What's the rubber bands and popping the rubber bands
Mm-hmm.
to get the pain, but not actually harming myself. Squeezing ice when the urge just got too big, I would just hold ice in my hand just to cool me down from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Praying. And of course, everybody knows I'm a writer. So,
Yeah.
in writing is really what got me through. And I'm just thankful that I'm here, that I can speak my truth, that I could tell my truth, and then I could thank the people who spoke so much in my life and was talking to me. I mean, like I always say, my auntie V, my godmothers, like Vicky, who knew about my problem and knew about my pain and knew it was few and far between. And one of the ways she used to help me or thought she was helping me was every time I came to work, she would take my bag and look everything in there. But at that time when I needed that strict love and that attention, she gave it to me. And so I'll always be grateful for people who did the best that they could and the best what they knew how to get me to the point I am. As I said, I started this journey and I finally completed and I haven't fallen in close to 8 years now. It's been 8 years that I haven't fallen and I'm grateful every day for it.
Good for you. Congratulations. Good for you.
Thank you.
Is there such a word? Is that sobriety?
Yes, I mean, I still
Okay.
call it that because, like I said, you can get to the point where you can be addicted to it, and every ounce of pain, that's your go-to. Just like every ounce of pain, people go to drinking, and every ounce of pain, people go to drugging. And because I'm working through all of this and working through all of that pain now I have my own mentor organization where I give back to other girls. Now I go speak. Now, I've done these things where God has used me to speak on the pain that I went through to bring somebody else out. Hence the reason Open Letters to a Survivor exists now.
Exactly. And we got people who are watching giving you kudos for being a strong woman. And it does take strength. It takes strength, but it also took the support that you got. Everybody needs somebody. Everybody.
Yes, they do.
You can't do anything and everything on your own. And it's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to admit to your pain and your past, your thoughts and your feelings, and figuring out the most healthiest way to get through your struggles. So
Right.
I commend you, and for all of our survivors who are watching and listening to us, and for those of you who know that you need help. This is the start. This is the start of it all. If you're not even ready to tell your own story or talk to somebody face to face, the fact that you're watching and listening to us, it's a step. It's a step in the right direction. And go ahead.
It is. And I just want to speak to parents right now. If you got children that's locking themselves in their rooms and when it's 90 degrees outside, still wearing hoodies and jogging pants and 90-degree heat and, you know, just looking for a change in their attitude and noticing knives missing and box cutters missing and just things of that nature. Noticing those things are missing or your telltale signs of knowing your child is cutting. Getting them into good therapy and good sessions with somebody that maybe looks like them
Right.
is very very helpful. And also not judging. You don't know because a lot of the times, if you look at the statistics, 1 in 4 African American girls self harm, but also 1 in 4 African American girls will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18.
Yeah.
So, 1 in 4 girls will be victims of domestic violence before the age of 18. So make sure that with the cutting, it comes other problems. It comes bullying. It comes problems that they're having in school. It comes emotional abuse. It comes all of these things that we may not or we may be oblivious to that they're dealing with. So
Right.
get them. And if you're watching and you need some assistance and you don't know where to go, we'll always be getting we will be doing our let's go to therapy segment. But if you need to reach out to somebody, reach out to me. Reach out to K Love. We're here to help you and guide you, even as parents, in the direction you can go to get your child that help and help them break free from
Right.
what they may be dealing with.
Yeah. This is the community, and we're all about community, and we want and definitely desire to be the catalyst or the bridge to the gap to reach out to those young and old. I mean, I'm up in age and I didn't get this type of help when I was younger. I didn't have these type of conversations with anybody, and if you tried, back in the day, they'd be like, girl, that's your imagination,
Right.
stuff like that. So we're here to tell you we've been through it. And now we're here to try and help you get in a better place sooner than later. And
Right.
we're speaking from our own experiences. And I thank you so much, Lady Poet, for sharing yours. Is there any other lasting thoughts that you want to share?
So I just want to share, like I said, if you or somebody you know is going through this, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to get your child help. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, Kay Love,
Uh-oh.
people that are here to assist you. So we are able to get you that support,
Right.
and also get you a support system. People that's not going to judge you. People that when you're feeling weak, you can go to. Like I said, I thank God that I had a best supervisor now at the current job I have, because even when those days are dark, she's still there to be like, you got this and you can do it. So
Mhm.
I am grateful for that opportunity. And I just leave everybody with that. Make sure that crackpot story lets you know you're worthy. Let you know that your story matters. Let you know that even when you thought you were nothing, when you look back over everything you've been through, you were watering seeds for your greatness that
Right.
you're going to eventually walk in to. This is not the end of your story. This is just the beginning of the good chapters of
Right.
the story. You know,
Right.
a lot of the older folks say it'll be greater later. Oh, it's gonna be greater later. Trust and
Absolutely.
believe. I'm turning 32 years this year, and I just thank God that when I thought I gave was going to give up, if I would have gave up, Open Letters to a Survivor would not be here. Those girls that I mentored would not be here. My
Mhm.
best friend wouldn't be meeting me, and we talk every day. You
Right.
know, so I really think that Open Letters to a Survivor wouldn't be here if I let that same self injury um and that is right, Cat Queen. Sometimes you have to undo bad therapy. I mean, we're gonna have an actual show
Mhm.
about some bad therapists that I've had. I've had advice. I've had and excuse me to my friends that's of a different race, but I've even had counselors tell me, "Well, I don't understand you, and if your therapist isn't black, I don't know what they're teaching you." So just saying that I was under a lower grade, and that different things. And I used to wear jogging pants and t-shirts to therapy, and I got told I came in there looking like a bum. So it was just, don't give up because you got somebody that don't know how to do their job, somebody
Right.
that's speaking down to you when they supposed to be speaking life to you. Don't give up. Undo that and say, if you know that you're worthy to do anything else, know that you're worthy of your healing.
That's
That's
right.
what I want to leave you with.
Amen to that. You are worthy of your healing.
And you
So
are
go
worthy
get yours.
of your healing. And if anybody's sitting up there today, I want you to tell yourself, look yourself in the camera, look at me as I tell yourself, I am worthy of my healing.
Mhm.
Because after that parable of the crack pot, I had to tell myself, it didn't change overnight, but to tell myself I am worthy of healing was what really helped me.
Mhm.
And sometimes they can't relate to our struggles or our cultural norms. But
Right.
that's why the melanated minds exist. That's why we do our Let's Go to Therapy for of therapists who look like us that we
Right.
can get connected with. So in that note, we want to go to our spotlight and Let's Go to Therapy segment if nobody else has any questions.
All right. So for our spotlight today, we want to say please join Dr. Zenora Thompson on July 13th, 2014 from 11 a.m. to 3:30. Uh, she's going to be at the St. Mark's Presbyterian Church, and she is going to be hosting a grief interactive workshop. So if you are dealing with grief right now, or you've been dealing with grief, or you ignored your grief and you need to deal with your grief, then let's get to this workshop. Her number is 216-392-0605, and that's Dr. Zenora Thompson. And to find out how to get your business on our spotlight section, please email us at openletterstoasurvivor@gmail.com. And in the subject line, put spotlight. So let's go to therapy. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Let's get healed. Let's get our healing. We deserve it. We are worthy of it. On this week's Let's Go to Therapy, our segment will highlight Dr. Shamara Hutchins, the mindologist, who has around the clock session to fit your needs and your schedule. Creator of the Melanated Minds Network, creating resources for our people. Contact the mindologist on all social media platforms. And as always, we have Belinda Williams, who specializes in trauma. Please call or email at 216 538 6481 or email at belinda@chawc.org. She is another person who is definitely looking out for our community. So if you can't reach one, you got another one. And if you can't reach either of them, you got us.
Right. And so, of course, we do want to turn to our motivational minute. I know that he is having a problem getting on. You know, whenever you talk about the goodness of God and what He's doing for you, and you talk about being worthy, the devil got to be busy. So, guess what? We're going to do the motivational minute today, and we're going to speak of the goodness of God and glory of how we
Yes.
made it through. And so,
Yes.
that's what our motivational minute, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, is you got to heal the roots for the tree to stand firm.
That's it.
So, and don't be afraid to get your help, because if nobody believe in you, I believe in you. K Love believe in you,
Yes.
and you are not a mistake. Because I thought I was for so long. You are not a mistake. You're here for a
Right.
purpose, and
Right.
you have purpose, and God loves you, and so do I. So
That's it.
therefore, keep walking in your deliverance, keep walking in your destiny, and keep walking in your truth. Because the truth will set you free, but
Amen to
first it's
that.
gonna piss you off. So keep walking and all of that, because you are amazing. We'll see
Amen.
you next week, and we're going to do a series on trauma. So we're going to put another trigger warning on there. And also, I will be interviewing my co-host, K Love, coming up in a few weeks, and she's going to tell you her phenomenal story of survival. Again, to donate, please, Cash App Lady Poet Speaks, which is the cash handle, and we will make sure we get those donations out to the community, as we do oftentimes. We love you. Thank you for
Yes.
tuning in. You're
Thank you.
worthy, you're amazing, you're blessed, and you are the crackpot. Bye
All
bye.
right now. Smooches. Happy holidays. Be safe, everybody.
Right, we love you. Bye bye.
Bye.